Since September 2008, students have been studying for diplomas, so the school workforce now has 6 months real experience of teaching them.
Select it if you're interested in people, select it if you're prepared to be flexible, select it if you really do want to learn. It is a very, very deep journey and it is going to move you as an individual.
When diplomas were first mooted, there were well-publicised concerns. They required new forms of collaboration with new partners in colleges and further education.
You have to actually get out of the classroom to teach the diploma. You have to work with other schools and colleges. You have to work with work-based employers.
Schools had to form new consortia, find new ways of working and follow a completely different curriculum.
It's really difficult delivering a qualification that's not yet rolled out and there is no point of reference in terms of good practice.
Would all this change mean chaos on the ground? And how would teachers cope?
I think the main thing I would like to have known before I started the diploma is what it was going to be like, and I don't think that you can really know that until you teach it.
In this programme, teachers who have spent the last 6 months delivering the diploma give us their verdict.
We're looking for a different style of learning for the students that will suit some students better than others. We're not convinced we've got that quite right yet, but we have to remind ourselves we are only 6 months into this.
In Bristol, Sir Bernard Lovell School has joined other local schools offering the diploma to form a consortium.
I think what's so exciting about the diplomas is that actually it's about applied learning, and it's about youngsters learning in a very, very different way. I think the majority of people learn better if they can work in an applied area at the same time as learning theoretically.
50% of the diploma has to be made relevant to the world, so the students have to understand what's happening in the classroom but make it relevant to actual construction sites. So they need to come and see things happening on the ground, as it were. The 3 elements of the construction built environment diploma are principal learning, generic learning and then applied and specialist learning.
This course is 50-50, practical and theory, which is what I enjoy.
So how are these learning categories organised within levels 1 and 2 of the construction diploma?
The principal learning is the core element of the course, and that teaches students about the built environment and all aspects of it. It teaches them how construction is prepared and how building projects are designed and planned, teaches them how they're actually built, and then finally, but as importantly, how they're managed and used as buildings once they've actually been created.
Well, my principal learning, we do a lot on structures and frame, or like different structures of housing, and it's a lot more architectural study.
With the principal learning, there isn't a great deal of practical as in the workshop. It's more of an applied learning, so we give them scenarios from the real world.
The additional specialised learning is a smaller block of time. They can either choose something which is very different from their principal learning, or they can choose something which complements their principal learning.
The thing I most enjoy is probably bricklaying, because that's a lot of practical and you get to do a lot in a short space of time, but also enjoyed doing plans for houses and that.
If a student wants to become an architect, he might look at the design aspects of the course. If he wants to be a site manager, he might focus on perhaps health and safety or learning more about job roles or site skills.
What safety gear are you going to need for this?
Goggles.
Why?
Just in case a brick things up your eyes.
Okay. Well, the students are doing their specialised learning unit. They're here for 2.5 hours this afternoon. They're all doing the diploma in construction of the built environment.
The generic learning allows youngsters to develop their skills through an extended project, and again can provide depth or can provide breadth.
This is where they start to develop their literacy and numeracy within the context of the construction industry.
Some of the theory stuff, in maths and that, it could get a bit boring, so it's good to be doing a lot of practical hands-on work.
The evidence that pupils can be motivated to learn theoretical subjects through applying them to practical skills is not new.
I remember one young lad said to me, there's more to painting and decorating than meets the eye. And what he meant was, it wasn't just about slapping paint on. It was actually understanding some of the theories behind this. Or the lad who stuck his head inside the bonnet of a car and suddenly realised the need for mathematics. So it is a kind of a cultural thing where you impress upon young people that these aren't superfluous skills, they're absolutely essential, but they can actually do them.
Part of whetting the appetite of diploma students for study involves giving them an insight into the world of work.
The diploma is a contextualised qualification, so everything needs to be made real through the industry, and a large part of that is actually learning about the different job roles within the industry. So even just by coming onto a construction site and seeing people working, they get to understand the different job roles that are available, and we do create real experiences for them.
Promoting diplomas to the first group of students involved a leap of faith as regards the form assessment would take. Concern about this was noted in a joint University of Bristol NFER report published in January 2009.
Teaching staff were feeling at that stage that they weren't so sure that they had the assessment well understood while they were planning for the delivery in the same way as they felt they were for the actual delivery of the programme, and they felt there was room for further development to fully get to grips with how these things were going to be assessed and also to have consistent assessment across the consortium.
There needs to be clear controls around who's doing what responsibilities they have and how that is assessed in relation to an individual's contribution. And so we've got guidance around task taking, task marking, and also crucially around task setting.
Staff actually are very skilled and very good at putting together assessment packages and knowing how those assessments will fit into their schemes of work. What is different for some staff is working together with other staff from other schools, and so we've set up a system of domain assessors who can provide support for individual teachers, for individual diploma lines across the partnership.
We have a programme of work that is supporting consortia in training up people within the consortia to be lead and domain assessors. So that, I think, is a really important piece of work. And the second piece of work is we're providing guidance to centres around how they can put controls on internal assessment. And we're providing some work which will exemplify the kinds of controls so that we have robust, solid, sound internal controlled assessment.
I think this year, obviously, it's the first year, and awarding bodies are aware that there are some issues with the specification as it is at the moment.
Whenever we have a new course, there are discussions taking place, particularly about assessment. I'm sure we'll work it out, and in 2 years' time, I think the problems will have been ironed out, and I don't think the problem will exist any longer.
Another concern for teachers is setting up work experience for their diploma students.
The actual work experience needs to be integrated into the course from beginning to end, so you might have a half day here, possibly even an hour there, but it happens all the way through the course.
As part of their ongoing work experience, 200 IT diploma pupils are visiting Microsoft's London offices for a morning.
So what we're doing today as a group is basically coming up with an idea of the next big thing in technology. So we're going to think about and design a new product that we think we want in our lives. Think a bit about the marketing, think a bit about how...
We've come here today because the students really enjoy going out to meet business people, to do different things.
So if I had my wristband and Jamie had a wristband, then the mirror would know who was in front of
But not every IT diploma student is finding the new course exciting.
I thought it would have been more fun, like more practical, because they said diploma in IT, like I'm going to do computer science and all that, like we're going to take apart computers and all that. It's not really that, it's databases and all of that. We do some business in it as well, which I don't know how IT is related to that, but we're doing it.
We're integrating technology, business, interpersonal skills and experience, and it's the bringing of those three things together that gives the young people the broad educational experience and the broad preparation for their adult life.
We need to come up with a logo or a slogan so people can recognise it whenever they see it around, like on posters and things. Something colourful that can catch people's eyes.
Like a world or
a globe.
A plane or something, a globe, that's the one.
They've got a really great idea, I think, of what they would like to see, come up in the market in the future. It's kind of getting a bit like, Dragon's Den in there. They really want to sell their products.
I think the mirror should give you more positive feedback as well about yourself.
Today here we are doing kind of real work with students who are halfway through their first year and teachers who've been teaching a few months, And for me, it's sort of a little bit like a dream coming true because it's all happening. It's very exciting. Yeah.
For students, it may not be a dream come true, but most relish joining the world of work.
They seem to really enjoy the employer visits when they actually get to go out of the classroom into a new environment, work with people who might be in 5 or 10 years giving them a job and actually find out what it is they're looking for. They like the fact that they're treated as adults as well. They've got, quite often they'll be presented with cups of coffee and things like that, and they take that on board.
At the moment, we're preparing the work in the classroom, we're preparing the students, but they will then go to 2 different organisations, ask questions on those organisations and prepare reports. So that's far better than just, getting it from textbooks.
I think because the diploma is so new, being at events like this allows us to actually discuss with other teachers who are in a similar position and be able to talk about things that are happening to us and find out that they are also happening to them, and discuss the best strategies that you can actually use to get around those different obstacles that come across.
Stoke Newington School doesn't yet offer the IT diploma, but, as befits a media arts and science college, it is pioneering both the creative and media and the construction diploma.
We've got a reputation for being innovative, so we're keen to be where possible, at the forefront of things that we think will benefit our students. I think the other thing that is important about the diplomas is the blend of experience they give to the students, both from the core learning activities but also the work-related learning, the practical aspects.
Because if you hold the knife too, my work placement was at a textile studio at Fabrications, and I basically used recycled materials to make objects for people and like customers and things, and I enjoyed it very much, yes.
Before my work experience, I went to Harlesden to do my work experience, and we're working in sort of like a costume design place. So yeah, it kind of fits in well with the diploma.
Despite the recession, London schools are finding it relatively easy to find work placements for their students.
I think we're fortunate we're in London, there are a lot of big employers around. We will use all our contacts, including parents, to try and find suitable work placements.
We need to have a role within the school where someone goes out and actually talks to these companies, works with them in partnership, both getting students out there into the workplace but also getting industry into the school.
I've got a pink sample of fabric which I think actually is a little bit better. You could print onto backgrounds, so we're sort of saying Obama, American president, New York, using the colours. Because this image of you is quite 60s, it's quite simplistic, pink, trashy. We wanted to choose identity. We have a cross-cultural mix in the class. Each child comes from a different background, and we want to explore that and look at how people identify themselves. Would you need to cut out to make that slightly clearer?
However, to find out whether Stoke Newington pupils rate the first 6 months of the Creative and Media course, Diploma champion Sir Mike Tomlinson does some hands-on market research.
You're doing the first group of students doing the diploma?
Yeah.
What's it like?
Exciting.
Exciting. What's the best part of it then?
Being creative, because the work we do, we can just put our own little twist on it.
You can change the stuff you're doing to suit yourself more and be more creative than you would in a normal drama lesson.
Right, so there's more opportunity in the diploma structure for your creativity or your interests.
Yeah.
If you had the chance to change something about what you're doing, is there anything you'd change?
The blocks.
You don't want to be doing so much writing.
I think the kids are really enjoying it. I've just got a book to show you, sort of looking at jobs in fashion.
Right.
We've been sort of looking at techniques from other cultures as well.
Yeah.
She's done some lovely sort of screen prints. Well, these little test prints here. She's had a great fun with.
I sort of read about the diploma and I knew straight away that was the thing that I wanted to take, because it's like all my interests kind of combined into one.
I would recommend the diploma for like very hard-working people and very creative people.
The evidence is clear that these courses do motivate young people enormously, where they want to pursue something which is a mixture of both the academic and the practical. And I think that you are going to enjoy it if you take it on board. That's the evidence so far. It's tremendously motivating.
But were students expecting diplomas to be simply a vocational course?
I think our students came in with the expectation that it was going to be a very practical course and it would be a very exciting course. And perhaps where the expectations have been contrasted is where there is a lot of organisation and We try to keep that interesting by having a blog rather than a paper exercise book, but at the same time we expect a lot of written work from them and we expect them to be analytical. This was a really good blog actually. Yasmin not only posted about what she was doing in the knitting workshop, but she also found a new facility within the blog so that she could put a slideshow in of the pictures she'd been doing. And I hadn't shown her how to do that.
You have to write everything in your blog. Everything has to be recorded. That's kind of boring, but like you have to do it to achieve your level, so you have to do it.
Certainly the diploma is really hard work, and one of the difficult things about it is keeping your ideas together and keeping organised.
Some of our students took it as an easy option, some of them took it because they were going to get a laptop.
I picked the diploma because of the 7.5 GCSEs.
One doesn't just give 7 GCSEs away. The assignments are enormous, some of them, and they're finding it quite hard, but hopefully as exciting as we are.
No, it's not that hard, but there are some aspects that you can say is.
The working hours are quite long for them, particularly the afternoon sessions, and they can watch other children going home who are not on diplomas. And so we do have to have small activities, but all aimed at getting the assignments finished.
What's apparent to teachers is that the key to sustaining pupil interest in their diploma subjects is planning.
There is a lot of preparation to do on one of these courses because we have our students for a long period of time. We have 1.5 days, and if you imagine as a teacher to prepare work and to get all your speakers in and to have all your activities and trips and so on within a 9 to 4 day is quite a lot of preparation, and it's relatively intensive.
If we had perhaps more time to structure the course, we could have changed things. And we look for next year to be doing more team teaching at the same time, rather than them doing something in drama and then going to media and having to film it there, so that we can actually be together. Yeah, lots and lots of planning, and you can't just fit it in during the week. So making sure that you know all the assessment criteria and you're really sure where you're going.
There are always concerns about the amount of time that we've got to actually plan not just the activities but also the employer engagement and the hands-on activities and the visits and placements outside of the classroom. But I think we're in a fairly good place, and we'll keep developing that.
Turning Waltham Forest in northeast London into a good place to be by organising an anti-knife crime event is the aim of these creative and media students. Employers Diploma champion, Sir Alan Jones, wants to find out what their objectives are.
What do you do in this whole media preparation event then?
We're trying to make people realise and see that it's dangerous, but it's kind of hard because it's really hard to make everyone feel safe when we know that there's people out there with knives.
So anything you can do to make people feel part of the community, that's what's important, isn't it? That's what gets.
But why is Sir Alan such a keen advocate of diplomas?
Today, many people will have many different jobs during their career, and what they have to have is that core that allows them to tackle things and know they can contribute effectively in whatever business they're in.
I'm doing my next year in year 11.
Next year?
Yeah, I'll do it next year.
Find a job for me in Toyota, please.
Employers don't just find a job for you. The consortia in the school you're in, they work with the employers to decide what's best for you, so that you get the right mix of work experience and you can decide, is that the way you want to go with your career? The whole point about diplomas is to give you a head start. That's what they're setting out to do.
But not everyone is as convinced as Sir Alan about their value or their reach.
If diplomas are meant to cater for the range of students that the government maintains they do, then many different stakeholders have got to be involved more actively than they have been. And so I think that not only do they not represent the range of employer views, crucially they don't represent, I think, teacher views. And teachers, particularly practitioners, were locked out of the design process very early on. And I think the people running the diplomas will regret that.
Some diploma students have mixed feelings about their course so far and would not necessarily recommend them to a younger sibling.
I'll tell him to do normal GCSEs because it's not the same as GCSEs, it's equivalent. So I'd rather him do GCSEs, so would I.
I wouldn't really recommend anything to him because he's only 3 years old, so I don't know what he'd be interested in.
I might not, because because he's a troublemaker, you see, and he might fight with other students from other schools and stuff like that.
Others have reservations over the value of the post-16 Level 3 diploma, which, so far, has had a very low uptake.
I don't know who's going to take them post-60, to be quite honest, at Level 3. I mean, if you're an A-level student, you won't do it. If you're an IB student, you won't do it. If you're really into vocational specialisation and you want to go to the world of work and apprenticeship, you won't do it. So who's left?
I think that diplomas will suffer a very negative fate if people constantly try to compare it with previous systems. These are not intended to be a comparison of previous systems. It's intended to be a whole new qualification that allows all young people to be able to reach their full potential.
To help students reach their full potential in what will be 10 diploma courses by September 2009, schools are forming consortia.
What we did at the outset of our diploma development was to coordinate with all the borough schools and write up joint protocols. And this means that all our timetabling was joined up, and we decided that the diploma would be delivered all day on a Tuesday and half day on a Thursday.
The students are enjoying being treated as an adult in a slightly different environment. They like the fact that they're using state-of-the-art equipment that some schools couldn't provide, modern technology, the cameras and the filming. Ultimately, we would hope that teachers would be delivering the diploma or teaching the diploma, but we didn't feel that we had enough staff qualified and confident for this first induction of the diploma, so we're quite happy to have this provision with the mixture of teachers from schools teaching part of the diploma course, the functional skills, and external trainers and providers teaching other parts of the course.
A specialist media trainer has been brought in to run this music video class, composed of students from 7 different Waltham Forest schools.
What's really tough is communicating with 7 schools in the borough and doing that efficiently and effectively and getting the results you need.
Some teachers initially had reservations about 14-year-olds travelling around independently.
There's quite a distance between the north part of the borough and the south part of the borough, and also the different areas that the students live in and concerns about that. And we did take all of that into consideration. Part of deciding to do a diploma was taking on the responsibility for travelling from one part of the borough to the other.
In rural areas, where pupils might have to travel up to 40 miles between schools, teachers had initially expressed concerns.
I won't say that they've all managed to resolve that situation yet, but aligned timetables help, which all had in place, and then working to think about how to move the young people at the least, and also looking at having maybe teachers travelling to teach rather than learners travelling to learn all the time were things they were exploring.
In fact, urban travel is perhaps proving as problematic, with some pupils feeling nervous about travelling outside their home territory.
It is an issue for some students in the locality that they don't like travelling from one postcode to another postcode, and we did have some initial interest from some students from other schools, and some of them then didn't take up places.
Students from E9 did not want to come to N16. They found that would be problematic for them. Cardinal Pole, for instance, had an option for the diploma, and the idea was their students came to us. When it was changed from our school to their school, they changed from having one person opting for it to about 15. So it became a lot more popular when the students didn't have to move.
Postcode tribal loyalties may sometimes be replaced by the introduction of subject-specific uniforms.
A very simple thing we found, that youngsters who are on a diploma course, they might all wear the same uniform. So for instance, in creative and media, because they're very keen on wearing black, they then tend to have a black Kingswood Partnership uniform which they can wear, which we supply.
Providing designated uniforms for diploma students helps keep track of students on site. Even more key to tracking pupils, however, is electronic data keeping.
There is automatic registration across the different institutions, and that is obviously electronically is transported back to the home institution to better have data of assessment transferred automatically. Those things have been really quite challenging for us in the early stages.
Without being able to keep on track what's happening, we wouldn't know what the kids were doing from lesson to lesson, because sometimes they're in our school, sometimes they're in another school, or sometimes they're in college. It's quite hard from a paperwork point of view, but you just need to keep on top of things with regular communication. Email was key to ours.
But what wisdom can diploma-savvy teachers and others from the world of education share with those yet to embark on the journey?
The important thing for successful diploma delivery is making sure that staff have the right amount of time in order to plan effectively.
Establish the protocols and the arrangements with your other partners quite early on, because sometimes it didn't matter what the answers to the questions were, but I just needed the answers as a school timetabler and to communicate with parents and other stakeholders.
My tip is, don't look at individual qualifications within the diploma just on their own. Look at the broader diploma and look at how you can integrate learning.
It's the focus on learning. It's what is going on in the lessons. The planning of the lessons and the schemes of work should be the number one priority to make it as exciting and relevant as possible.
Within the school system, there isn't a lot of room for really radical timetabling, and for me the one thing to make this the best course that it potentially is to be really radical in your timetabling.
Get a copy of their scheme of work, which is always saving a lot of time.
The pupils are progressing far more than we thought they would. They're actually getting a lot out of the course, and if you ask them that, they'll tell you it themselves that they really enjoy being part of the diploma. They are the first people to stand up and actually sell the course to other pupils because they enjoy it so much.